Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 1. Now let's start the fanfic. Preface. This is a fanfiction. I do not own any part of the Naruto franchise, nor am I profiting from it in any way. This, I'm certain, is quite obvious to everyone reading this story, however I'm mentioning because of fanfiction.net tradition. My profile has been dedicated to an as yet incomplete list of jutsu, ninja tools, and character stats as presented in this story. A TV tropes page is available in a similar incomplete state. Looking back from having just finished chapter 75, I wince occasionally at the content of the first 10 chapters or so. The usual Naruto fanfiction cliches are in place, i.e. Naruto receiving inheritance from his parents not present in canon, and the civilians of Konoha hating Naruto more openly than they did in canon. Even from the start I wanted to spin these tropes in new directions, i.e. the civilians chasing Naruto around on his birthday but not actually being able to catch him because he is, in fact, a ninja. But they're still there, and a few are rather in your face about it. Really, the first arc uniformly suggests that the story is on track to become the same predictable Mary Sue, badass. Naruto, FIC you've encountered a million times by now. When I tell you that isn't the case, that things change drastically in the forest of death, that is not something I say lightly. I think it's best if I just catalog the fanon cliches in the first arc right here, so you know what you'll be cringing at if you still decide to keep reading. Beware of spoilers, if comparatively minor ones. Naruto receives an inheritance from Kushina, tries on Minato's Haori, goes on a date with Hinata, awakens the Rinnegan, meets the Kyuubi under better circumstances than canon, and takes up a sword since he's garbage at taijutsu in this continuity. That's all rushed into 7 chapters and only 4 are set in wave. I didn't want to do a drawn-out wave arc that would sit at 20 chapters before it died. Anyway, at the start of the Chunin exams Naruto briefly fights Orochimaru. But to be fair on that last point, he gets completely owned and knocked out with a cursed seal, which also doesn't lead to any of the plotlines that likely come to mind when you see Naruto with a cursed seal, trust me on this. I will not tell you that this thing I wrote is an amazing piece of literature and you should totally read it. That's not for me to decide. But what I will tell you is that this story isn't what you're expecting, that the opening chapters are misleading. I can tell you that Naruto having a Rinnegan is not the extent of the changes I made, that I powered up some villains too because I've been specifically trying to avoid badass Naruto. And I can tell you that I'm very proud of the rest of the story, just as I'm ashamed of its dismal start. But that's all coming from me, the author, and I'm obviously biased when it comes to my own work. If you're a reasonably fast reader, it should take you no more than an hour to get through the cliché crap. But it's entirely your choice whether you want to give up that hour of your life, knowing that you're probably gonna spend that time groaning and rolling your eyes in annoyance. Thank you for reading. X. Imagine for a moment that you're an ordinary citizen of Konoha. The shinobi tend to keep you out of the loop, and that's fine. Ninja stuff is ninja stuff and you'd rather not know the gory details anyway. But you've noticed something. It was rather hard to miss, really. There is a boy in Konoha with whiskers, a boy who turned up in an orphanage the day after the Nine Tails attacked and was allegedly killed. This whiskered boy takes every possible chance to cause trouble. He spray paints the sacred monuments of your culture and laughs about it. It starts to look almost like he has something against Konoha. You put 2 and 2 together. Maybe the Nine Tails didn't exactly die that day 7 years ago. What do? Obviously you mention it to the next Chunin you see. They tell you they'll investigate the situation. 2 weeks later nothing has come of it, so you warily make your way through the academy, warily because these kids can spit fireballs and you hire them to do your laundry. At least some of them are sure to dislike you. You never actually notice that these kids in particular are younger than the ones you've hired, not actually genin yet, but regardless, you speak to a secretary with an office not far from the Hokage's own. You explain your concerns. She tells you they'll investigate the situation. That's a bit off-putting. You're starting to get suspicious now, and since you're already there, you book an appointment with the Hokage. He's a busy man and you'll have to wait another 2 weeks or so, but that's fine, that's the time frame you want. Still nothing happens. No breaks in the boys' schedule of pranks and mischief, no announcement from the shinobi, nothing. So you proceed to your appointment with the Hokage and explain, for a third time, why you think something is wrong. You come right out and say it this time. You think he's the Nine Tails in human form. The third Hokage tells you he'll investigate the situation. He doesn't look fazed. Maybe it's just a ninja thing, or maybe he's said this many times before. Apparently the world is out to get you and no one is ever going to actually look into this Uzumaki kid's backstory. Rather, it's clear now that the shinobi already know something and aren't about to tell a civilian the truth. You know the truth, but you're still a civilian. You can't use that fancy fire release magic to dry your laundry, you have to do it the old-fashioned way or hire a genin. You found a dropped kunai once and tried throwing it, just to see if it was as easy as they made it look. It wasn't. You hit your target with the pommel and went home with your cheeks on fire. So what can you do about this problem? Not much, and you're painfully aware of it. You can keep your distance from the Nine Tails, give him cold looks and jack the prices up high if he ever wanders into your convenience store. That's about it. You'd have to be drunk as hell to do anything more. There is a certain day of the year where getting drunk as hell is normal in Konoha. October 10th, the day the fourth Hokage died. You drink to celebrate his life, to mourn his death, to forget that the little monster painted the word cheapskate on all of your windows. And then you spot him out of the corner of your eye. You get up and follow him. He notices, runs, and suddenly your plan seems about 20 times less brilliant. You forgot that he's a ninja, well, ninja in training. He can casually jump from the street to the roof of a 2-story building, and you're so drunk that you wobble when you run. No avenging the fourth Hokage for you anytime soon, and by the time you get home you've realized that he might actually be just a 7-year-old kid, which means, you were trying to. You sit, throw up in a bucket, rethink your life a bit. But there are others like you. October 10th was not Naruto Uzumaki's favorite day of the year. It was funny the first few times they tried and epically failed to catch him, but after that the amusement wore off and he started worrying. What would they do if they ever got me? Finding out didn't seem particularly appealing. They were civilians and had about as much killing intent as a bowl of wet grapes, so maybe they'd just freeze for a minute and then awkwardly let him go. Even so, Naruto had no interest in finding out. He started steering clear of people on his birthday, regularly planned to spend the day in a secluded training ground instead. He chose training ground 42. No one liked it. It was a huge expanse of shattered granite that had been a quarry before the Nine Tails decided to step on it a few times. The terrain was uneven and wobbly. Step on a slab of granite the wrong way and it could tip, slide down, fall, and you could get a painful scrape or two. It was fine for practicing ninjutsu though, including the clone jutsu. What a birthday gift that would be, to learn the one jutsu holding him back from graduating at 10. Sasuke Uchiha and his fancy fireballs could on that, Naruto graduating 2 years early while he stayed set to become a genin at 12. Clone jutsu. A pale, shriveled, and dead-eyed parody of a blonde 10-year-old popped into existence with a cloud of white smoke. Naruto groaned, and dispelled the clone. Clone jutsu. This time, nothing at all emerged from the smoke. Come on. I know I can do this. If I can't learn the clone jutsu, what kinda Hokage would I be? Clone jutsu. This time the cloud of smoke was massive, and through it, Naruto glimpsed an upright figure. Did I do it? The smoke cleared, revealing another garbage clone and Hinata Hyuga. Gah! Naruto stepped back. Immediately, his instincts connected someone's looking at me and it's my birthday, with the result being run. Naruto-kun. Hinata, as per usual, was avoiding eye contact, staring at her index fingers as she played with them. The blonde ninja recognized her and calmed down, though he was still a little shaky from the adrenaline coursing through his body. He sighed in relief. Hey, Hinata-chan, what are you doing all the way out here? I came to see you, Naruto-kun. You're always out here, training alone all day, whenever your birthday comes around. That must be sad. She took a deep breath, and reached into a pocket on her gray coat. I came to give you this. She declared in a desperate, panicked voice, but whatever she tried to pull out of her pocket got stuck, and she blushed deeper than usual, trying to free the item as though her life depended on it. Hinata, relax, it's okay. Naruto said this quietly, unsure if it would make any difference, but continued, you're gonna be a genin in a couple of years, a kunoichi, believe it. So just calm down. Whatever's always got you so freaked out, I'm sure you can handle it, easy. Hinata was silent at this. She had managed to free the green scroll from her pocket, and was now staring at it, not sure what to do. Then she blinked and held out the scroll shakily. This is for you, Naruto-kun. Happy birthday. He took the scroll, speechless at the thought of an actual birthday present, and opened it. It was a step-by-step instruction for a perfect execution of the clone jutsu, with far more detail than the lessons at the academy. Hinata-chan, this is the best birthday ever. He screeched gleefully, and hugged her, dropping the scroll in the process. Must not faint, must not faint, must not faint. Hinata blushed a darker red than she ever had in her life, but managed to stay conscious. She heard what sounded like sobbing on her shoulder. Naruto-kun can't possibly be crying, right? Naruto-kun, are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine, it's just this is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me. Naruto interrupted himself to weep loudly. Hinata-chan, you're the best. And now I'm finally gonna learn the clone jutsu, and I got my first birthday present ever, and he sobbed again, still with his head on her shoulder. I'm gonna make it up to you, Hinata-chan, believe it. As he released her from the embrace, Hinata stammered, Naruto-kun, that really isn't, you don't have to. I'll start by showing you this great ramen place. It's the best in town and I live on the stuff. All you can eat, on me, Hinata-chan. Naruto was still sniffling, but as abruptly as his crying had begun, it had stopped. He beamed at her, blue eyes wide with joy despite the tears dripping down his cheeks. A date? Did Naruto just ask me on a date? Thus began a beautiful friendship that would shape the rest of their lives, and change Konoha forever. Come on, Hinata-chan, dig in. Naruto slurped back a huge mouthful of pork ramen. Tsuki and Ayame glanced at each other, wide-eyed. Both of them were wondering how Naruto had managed to bring the princess of the Hyuga clan into Ichiraku ramen, and make it look suspiciously like a date. Hinata shook free of her stupor with a gasp, turning to face Naruto. Lots of people say it's disgusting and unhealthy, but take my word for it, it's great. He slurped more noodles to accentuate the point. Hinata nodded, and snapped apart a pair of chopsticks. She sank the tips into the golden broth, taking up a sizable bundle of noodles. She glanced at Naruto, who had turned back to his bowl and was shoveling the stuff back. She brought the ramen to her lips, tasted it, and found it was no less delicious than Naruto had claimed. She slurped the noodles with increasing speed until she was on par with Naruto. While Ayame was bringing him a second bowl, Naruto turned to watch Hinata, hunched over her bowl with a proud smile showing through the noodles that dangled from her mouth. Wow, I've never seen anyone eat ramen that fast. She finished the noodles, and drank the bowl of broth in mere seconds. Wow, you're even faster than me. That's amazing. Naruto beamed, flipping a thumbs up. For a moment Hinata forgot her shyness and smiled back, but then she blushed sharply and looked down. Hey, Hinata-chan, can I ask you something? Why yes. Why are you so shy all the time? You keep looking down and blushing and doing this thing with your fingers, he imitated the gesture. You've got so much to be proud of. You're the princess of the Hyuga, you can use the Byakugan, You're one of the best students in the academy. And, he cut himself off when he noticed the fresh bowl of ramen in front of him, eating back a huge mouthful of noodles. And you're really pretty too. Hinata flushed so deeply and suddenly, it actually hurt. Pretty. She stammered. Believe it. I mean, what do I know? I'm 10. I'm still supposed to think girls are icky. He said this through a mouthful of ramen, shrugging. Then why are you always asking Sakura on a date? Her blush darkened tenfold, but it couldn't be unsaid. Naruto shrugged. She was the first pretty girl I saw in the academy. I like seeing her smile. She's obsessed with Sasuke and I wanna snap her out of it. Lots of little reasons. A second bowl was set in front of Hinata then, and she turned to face it shakily. I had no idea, she mused aloud. Naruto-kun, I guess I'm so shy because I really admire you. Huh. Naruto blinked as he turned to face her, with the ramen noodles in his mouth now dripping broth onto his pants. You admire me. Why? Everyone ignores you or bully you, and you still smile. You're all alone but you're happy. You don't resent anyone for bullying you, and you come to school every day saying you'll be Hokage, and they'll all have to respect you then. That's why. You're so strong, Naruto-kun, strong like a Hokage. Wow. That's gotta be the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, so, aren't you concerned with what they all say about me? How I'm some kind of demon and all that. Like, not just a delinquent or something. They have to be all melodramatic about it and pretend I'm the freaking Kyuubi. Stupid civilians, he sulked silently. No way. That was the strongest voice he'd ever heard her use. You're not a demon, Naruto-kun. I don't care who says what about you. You'll be Hokage one day, I never doubted it. Thanks, Hinata-chan. I'm sure you'll get really strong too. 2 years later. Clone Jutsu. A perfect illusory copy of Naruto appeared in a puff of smoke, grinning proudly and flipping a thumbs up to Iruka. This, the result of 2 years' worth of chakra control training, shocked everyone in the classroom except Hinata, who beamed. And now we'll be genin together, Naruto. Iruka blinked. Naruto blinked back, still grinning. You pass, Naruto. Next. He sighed in relief and took his seat next to Hinata. You did it, Naruto. Yeah, Naruto shouted, throwing a fist in the air. This got the attention of every student in the class. That headband's gonna look great on me, believe it. He took the pair of goggles off his forehead and shook his spiky blonde hair vigorously. Mizuki scowled at the back of the room. Time for Plan B. Steal the Hokage's scroll myself. Naruto smirked mischievously, as he placed the chalk eraser atop the door in anticipation of his new sensei's arrival. Every year, the graduating prodigy, dead last, and most promising genjutsu specialist are placed together on a team. Upholding that tradition, this year's first genin team will consist of the top student Sasuke Uchiha, the weakest student Rock Lee, and the student with the greatest potential for genjutsu, Sakura Haruno. Team 7, your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Our next team, I'm proud to announce, was assembled by the Hokage himself. Allow me to introduce Team 8, Taijutsu Specialist Hinata Hyuga, Ninjutsu Specialist Naruto Uzumaki, and Tracking Specialist Kiba Inuzuka. Your sensei will be the son of the Hokage himself, Asuma Sarutobi. Isn't Kakashi the one who's late for everything? Kiba groaned, once again. Said Junin had showed up and whisked away the only other remaining team, mere minutes ago. It's been 3 freaking hours. Naruto, what are you doing? I'm pranking the son of the Hokage. He set the eraser in place and returned to his seat. No Junin is ever gonna fall for a stupid prank like that. Hinata spoke up. Asuma sensei's coming. I can see him with my Byakugan, he doesn't suspect a thing. Hinata, you're helping him with this. Her only reply was to shush Kiba, who groaned again. The door opened, and the eraser landed with a puff of chalky dust on Asuma's head. Kiba gaped in total disbelief. Hinata giggled, blushing and covering her mouth with her hand. Naruto laughed loud enough to be heard throughout the building. Okay. First impressions. Asuma took a drag on his cigarette. I gotta say I'm happy I got you guys instead of Ino Shikacho. Nothing against him, but, the thing is, you three don't fit together like puzzle pieces, and that's why it'll be so engaging to train you. He turned. Follow me, we're going to the roof. Asuma-sensei. Hinata spoke up quietly, as the three freshly minted genin got up from their seats. What exactly have you been doing, for 3 hours? Talking with Kakashi Hatake about your first few lessons. Asuma blew out a smoke ring. So, Iruka tells me you were all decent students, heirs to 3 powerful clans. Naruto of the Uzumaki clan, masters of sealing jutsu. Hinata of the Hyuga clan, greatest taijutsu users in the world via the all-seeing Byakugan. Kiba of the Inuzuka clan, renowned ninja hound trainers and the greatest tracker ninjas in Konoha. You guys look promising. He took another drag on his cigarette. So, do you guys know your elemental affinities for ninjutsu? Naruto-kun. 10-year-old Hinata made her way through the crowd of students fleeing the classroom, wading through to Naruto's side. The blonde Jinchuriki waited for her, smiling. I brought some ninjutsu and taijutsu scrolls from the Hyuga clan library, anything that wasn't tied to the Hyuga, since those jutsu require a Byakugan. Sounds great, Hinata-chan. Come on, training ground 17 is good for ninjutsu practice. Wait, Naruto-kun. I have something else. She held out a small white cardboard box. These are chakra sensing papers, for learning our nature types. They're not expensive, but you can only buy them if you're already a ninja. I had one of my cousins buy us a few, so we'll know which elements to focus our training on. Mine's wind release, Naruto declared proudly, puffing out his chest. 'Cause you're full of hot air, Kiba replied, smirking. Bite me, Kiba. No, wait. Naruto paused thoughtfully. I take that back, 'cause you might actually bite me. Like I haven't heard that one a million times. A dog joke, how original. I have the water release, Hinata interrupted. I don't know many ninjutsu, but I can use it to fight when I'm out of taijutsu range. I never bothered with nature types, Kiba said with a shrug. Inuzuka clan jutsu have always been enough for me. You might want to look into elemental jutsu, Kiba. Every kage in history, Hokage or otherwise, has known and used their nature type. Asuma let a puff of smoke through his lips. We're here, he declared, and opened the door to the roof. Okay. Everybody sit down. Let's talk a little more. Asuma sat comfortably on the rooftop, and put out his finished cigarette. My name is Asuma Sarutobi. I like cigarettes and working with my fellow Junin. I hate. He paused and sighed, that moment when you have a cigarette in your mouth and a hand in your pocket, only to find that you left your lighter in your other flak jacket. I hate that. My hobby is shogi, it's my favorite game and I'm rather good at it. My dream, and you speak of this to no one, is to defeat Shikamaru Nara in a game of shogi. Now, tell me a bit about yourselves. We'll start with you, Naruto. My name, Naruto announced this loudly and with pride, is Naruto Uzumaki. I like Hinata-chan and ramen, but best of all I like having ramen with Hinata-chan. I don't particularly hate anything. My hobby is training with Hinata-chan, and my dream is to be the greatest Hokage, and I'll pull it off, believe it. Hinata blushed each time Naruto said her name, a fact not lost on Asuma. Okay, Hinata, your turn. Her eyes widened. Me. Okay. I'm Hinata Hyuga. I'll like Naruto-kun, Ichiraku ramen, and making progress with our training. I think the only thing I hate is the caged bird seal. My hobby is training with Naruto, and I have 3 dreams. First, I want to see Naruto become Hokage. Also, I want to learn the 8 trigrams 64 palms, and my third dream is to end the use of the caged bird seal. Someday when I'm head of the Hyuga clan, I'll get rid of it forever. She took a deep but quiet breath, and smiled. That was interesting, Hinata. Alright, Kiba, you're up. I'm Kiba Inuzuka. I like Akamaru, beef jerky, and Inuzuka clan jutsu. I hate cats. My hobby is doing just about anything with Akamaru, including but limited to chasing cats, learning new jutsu, and peeing on stuff. Kiba giggled. I don't have any really crucial dreams, but I'd like to track down Akatsuki and capture them. That'd make me the greatest tracker nin ever. And being Hokage would be nice, but Naruto's got dibs on it. So all three of you count training as a hobby. That's a good sign. Asuma nodded with a smile. Alright, that's it for today. Go home, get some rest, and tomorrow morning, skip breakfast. You'll just end up losing it anyway. I'm gonna have to test you guys, and I won't make it easy. If you pass, you're genin, and we'll start missions whenever you want. If not, you're headed back to the academy. The three 12-year-olds winced at that statement. Naruto slumped in unconsciousness against one of the three wooden posts that someone had placed in Training Ground 42. Here he had befriended Hinata, learned the clone jutsu, and once a year, took refuge from an angry mob. It seemed ironic and fitting that here was where he would become a true genin. He snored. Had he been awake, he would have felt Hinata's head shifting on his shoulder in response to the sudden sound, but both of them were asleep with the rising sun to their backs. She murmured something incoherent in her sleep, then fell silent again. Kiba scratched Akamaru behind the ears. The white puppy yawned and stretched happily, then barked to greet Asuma, who sat down with a smirk next to Kiba. How long have they been like that? The Junin asked quietly. Kiba smirked back. They were like this when Akamaru and I showed up. Okay. Asuma chuckled quietly. I'll test their reflexes. Then, he stood, and took a defensive stance, ready to dodge any attack. Hey, wake up. Wind release. Water release. Collaboration secret jutsu. Hurricane bullet. Asuma's eyes widened as the two shot to their feet, performing hand seals in sync as they shouted this. The fearlessness in Hinata's eyes was particularly shocking. Naruto performed the air bullet while Hinata performed the water bullet, and the two attacks melded together into a mist that somehow looked sharp. Asuma threw himself to the side, dodging the attack with ease. Not bad, but you just wasted plenty of chakra when you could have just thrown a couple kunai. It wasn't even a particularly strong Ujutsu. But now that you're awake, it's time for your exam. Asuma pulled two silver bells out of his pocket and jingled them. Straight to the point. You three have an hour to get both of these from me. At the end of that hour, whoever's got a bell passes. Anyone without a bell is going back to the academy, and if that's not enough, these bells are your tickets to lunch. Go without a bell, and you go without food. Asuma tied the bells to his waist, pulled out and lit a cigarette, and took 2 steps back. Begin. Naruto charged forward with a dramatic roar, and was kicked in the gut for his effort. Ah! He crumpled. I thought you were the ninjutsu user on this team, Naruto. Hinata stood with concern in her lavender Byakugan eyes, and helped Naruto to a kneeling position. Yeah, you're right, Asuma-sensei, he coughed. I gotta stop getting ahead of myself. Asuma-sensei. Hinata looked up from a kneeling and coughing Naruto to face the Junin. I've never seen a genin team with any less than 3 genin, and no more, either. Kiba's eyes widened as he immediately realized her point. The bells, they aren't the point at all. Naruto listened to Hinata continue, having not figured it out yet. But you only have 2 bells, and that's supposed to turn us against each other, but a shinobi team has to stick together. Naruto grinned with sudden comprehension. We're supposed to take you down together. Asuma disappeared, replaced by a breeze and a few leaves. The body flicker jutsu. Hinata settled into a relaxed gentle fist taijutsu stance, scanning the area in all directions with her Byakugan. Kiba. I can't see him. Can Akamaru detect his scent? Akamaru whined. Sorry. We got nothing, Kiba replied. He must be masking his scent. There's a jutsu for that, but it's an A- rank genjutsu. He's taking this seriously. Then so will we. Naruto stood, having recovered from Asuma's kick. When we find him, I'll use my air bullet, and maybe my wind S. No, Naruto, Hinata interrupted, timid but determined. An assault like that just won't work. He's too strong and fast. She blushed, and added, but if we use that jutsu. Yeah, Naruto replied solemnly. It doesn't matter how good he is, if we pull that one off, he's done for. What jutsu are you guys talking about? Kiba's voice shook very slightly. If you think it can take out a fully rested and prepared Junin, where the hell would you learn a jutsu like that? We've only been genin for 3 days. We didn't learn it, Naruto said proudly. We made it up ourselves. Only we know it, me and Hinata, believe it. So, we should probably just use it as a last resort, keep it between us. Several minutes later, they found Asuma, who watched them approach over the hills and ditches of shattered rock. You're gonna need real killing intent if you want to get these bells, the son of the Hokage proclaimed. All right, Hinata, are you ready? Naruto called as he flew through the air. Yes, Hinata replied cheerfully at his side. Kiba-kun, wait for the signal. No problem, Akamaru barked as his master said this. Naruto reached out and clasped Hinata's hand with his own. As always, she blushed at this, but it was crucial for this technique. Get ready, Asuma-sensei. Naruto called, as he built up almost all of his wind release chakra. Hinata closed her eyes and turned off her Byakugan, focusing her chakra into the water release. Their intertwined hands came apart, and they each formed a set of hand seals in sync. Collaboration secret jutsu. Naruto yelled with a gleeful grin. Water release. Wind release. The sky darkened as the two melted their chakra together, and storm clouds gathered. They called out in stereo, snow release, snowstorm battlefield. Whoa, Kiba quietly observed as the snow began to fall. They altered the weather, is this their awesome jutsu? Akamaru whined, watching the two confront Asuma. The Sarutobi clan Junin sighed. Fine, I'll admit it. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen two genin do, but it's useless. All this is gonna do is give everyone here a cold, and you're just about out of chakra, both of you. Show-offs, he muttered. Naruto and Hinata slumped forward, panting. I've still got gas in the tank. Naruto answered, but his voice sounded weary and tired. Which is the whole point. He straightened and made 6 more hand seals. Wind release. Wind scar. Naruto slammed his hands down on the granite slab he stood on, sending out a wave of wind in Asuma's direction. That jutsu is only a low C rank. What's he up to? The wind caught the falling snow and carried it, growing in size and breadth. It's too wide. I can't just jump aside. Asuma scowled and spat out his cigarette, using the body flicker jutsu to move clear to the side of the wind scar. Thunder clapped, and the storm disappeared with unnatural speed. Naruto panted, but stood proudly before his sensei, with no more than 10 feet of distance between them. What now, kid? You've got enough chakra left for maybe 1D rank jutsu, and I'm at a proper taijutsu range. Kiba's the only one with any real chakra reserves left. Yeah, like I said, we're going somewhere with this. Naruto laughed weakly, but Asuma took it as a bluff. He clasped his hands together in the dog hand seal, then boar, then finally the ram seal. Transformation jutsu. A plume of smoke surrounded him completely. Asuma blinked. PFF'd. That's it. A disguise. Water release. Water bullet. Asuma prepared to dodge, but he turned to look at the attack and saw how weak it was, little more than a splash of azure water. She didn't even have enough chakra to aim it right. It's gonna hit Naruto. The smoke of the transformation cleared, revealing an older, female, and very attractive version of Naruto, clad in an orange bikini and dripping wet. Asuma's eyes bugged out of his head, and blood trickled out of his nostrils. So, Asuma-sensei, she purred, how do you like my sexy jutsu? Asuma simply stared, slack-jawed, until Hinata walked up and kicked him in the groin. He shrieked like a little girl from the sudden agony, and the Hyuga princess named the technique, Forbidden Taijutsu, Single Strike of Eternal Pain. Kiba, you can take the bells now. Hinata, Kiba replied as he plucked the bells from Asuma's belt and tossed one to her. I never would have guessed you'd be the kind of kunoichi who'd kick her sensei in the balls. We're ninjas, she said sweetly and innocently, while Naruto returned to his normal form. All we're supposed to do is complete the mission within the parameters set for us, and we protect our team above all else. That's as far as chivalry reaches into the life of a ninja. Kiba whistled. That's the best nindo I've ever heard. He blanched suddenly, and looked down at Asuma, who was rolling around on the ground in agony. Wait, was that the super awesome jutsu you guys were talking about? A kick in the sack. Naruto, being the container of the Kyuubi, son of the fourth Hokage, and likely the greatest prankster in Konoha's history, had found himself sitting before the third Hokage more times than he cared to count. The old man had been there for him since his birth, and was the closest thing to a father figure Naruto had ever known. Now, however, he was uncomfortable here, if only for the sake of his friends. Kiba and Hinata sat to either side of him before the Hokage's ancient desk, and they too looked worried. The third son, their Junin sensei, had spent the previous day in the hospital, having lost a worrying amount of blood through the nose and having suffered a kick to the groin so vicious, it would have made Madara Uchiha himself wince. The Hokage entered the room, wearing a solemn expression and puffing on his ever-present clay pipe. I'm sure you three are wondering why I've called you here. I'll start by mentioning that Asuma has told me. I'm sorry Hokage-sama, please don't punish them, it was all my idea. Naruto. The Hokage silenced the genin, sternly but not angrily. As I was saying, Asuma has told me you did exceptionally well in your bell test, deploying several original jutsu, collaboration techniques, and fantastic teamwork. He did divulge to me the exact nature of your strategy, and I must say I'm impressed, if a little amused. Naruto blinked, his mouth not quite shut properly. You're impressed. The Hokage puffed on his pipe with a benevolent smile and nodded. You three have shown exceptional promise, and Asuma has asked me to give you a C rank mission immediately. Whoa, Kiba breathed. AC rank. Already. That's awesome. Believe it, Naruto added. You'll be escorting a carpenter by the name of Tazuna to his home in the Land of Waves. His homeland has been having a problem with bandits, and you'll be protecting him and his workers until he finishes his current project. He's promised to give C rank pay to each of you upon his safe arrival in the Land of Waves. It didn't take long after that for Team 8 to eagerly make for the door, giddily intent on preparing for their first mission all day. However, the Hokage sent a chill down Naruto's spine by calling him back. Don't leave just yet, Naruto. We still have to talk. Ah crap, I'm so dead. He shuddered and turned back toward his grandfather figure, taking up his seat once more. The rest of Team 8 filed out of the office, with both Hinata and Kiba throwing concerned glances back at their new teammate. Once they were gone, however, the Hokage pulled a mostly plain-looking ninja scroll out of his desk, laying it before Naruto. Perplexed, the boy leaned forward and squinted at the spiral mark on each end of the scroll. Hokage Gigi, what's this? The professor sighed. I'm sorry I couldn't show you this years ago, my boy, but they asked me not to. I can only hope they'll be able to provide a decent explanation, since I don't have one. He unfurled the scroll across his desk, revealing what Naruto recognized as a seal of some kind. The swirls of black ink lit up and cast a warm yellow-white glow about the room, which gradually coalesced into two distinctly human figures. Hello, Naruto, the woman with long, smooth red hair spoke up first. My name's Kushina Uzumaki, and I'm your mom. The blonde man standing next to her smiled cheerily, remaining silent until she elbowed him sharply. You've gotta say hi too, ya know. Oh, right. The man beamed once more. I'm Minato Namikaze. I'm your father, Naruto. Kami. I hope he doesn't ever have to see this, Kushina moaned. Can you imagine how hard this would hit him? Naruto blinked, still not fully registering what he was seeing. He noted with worrying calm that his mother had just confirmed his suspicions that this was a pre-made recording and nothing more. No, Minato answered honestly. But I think even if we do live, we'll probably show him this one day. Once he's old enough, of course. He turned back to face Naruto, or whatever system had been recording the conversation. Naruto, we recorded this for you because we've been preparing over the last several months to expect an attack on the village, probably on your birthday. It's entirely possible that one or both of us could die if that attack really comes to pass, so we wanted you to, well, to meet us. We thought. Kushina hesitated, then shook her head and spoke up. We thought of making arrangements so you'd know who we were your whole life. If one of us dies and the other survives, that's the plan we'll go with. But if you've lost us both, Naruto, she rubbed her eyes and sighed shakily. Well, in that case, we've decided to wait to show you this until you graduate from the academy. It was a hard choice, Minato went on. But we thought that if we weren't here with you, it'd be best if you grew up not knowing about us. If you knew who we were, you might have felt that you had to live up to some kind of standard we set, or even worse, you might have started thinking you were entitled to greatness just because of who we were. It could go either way, without us there to help you find your own path in life. But now that you're all grown up, now that you're a ninja and you've learned how to be responsible, Kushina smiled sadly, you're ready to hear all of this. And now that you know who we were, we can give you your inheritance and trust you not to hurt yourself with it, she chuckled. See, you're actually from a ninja clan, Naruto. The Uzumaki were never as well known as the Uchiha or Hyuga, for instance, but we can trace our lineage back through the centuries. We have a clan compound here in Konoha, even if it's just a little one, and now it's yours. Minato scratched the back of his head sheepishly. I'm sorry, Naruto, I don't really have anything to offer like that. My parents, your grandparents, were both Chunin whose own parents were civilians. I'm not from a clan, and as the Hokage I can't just leave you all of my assets as inheritance. All of the funds and resources under my name will probably be spent on repairing the village, assuming that possible attack really comes to pass, that is. So I'm sorry, Naruto, but it's your mother who has to make up for 12 years or so of missed birthday presents. The most I can give you is some hand-me-down shinobi gear. He's not the kind of kid who cares that much about material things, Kushina rubbed her belly, at last drawing Naruto's attention to it. By the time he becomes a genin, he'll already be way more grown up than that, believe it. My father was the fourth Hokage. Naruto sat on the polished oak floor of his new bedroom, in front of a cherrywood trunk with the kanji for fire burned into the lid. Said lid had been opened, and Naruto now had a folded white haori in his lap. The note attached said, "It may take a while before you grow into this, but I hope you like it all the same. Love, Dad." He unfolded the haori, noting the pattern of flames along the bottom. This was an authentic copy of Minato Namikaze's haori, probably one of his spares, since he had been wearing one in battle against the Kyuubi. Naruto started crying. It wasn't something he did often, but he never tried to suppress it when the tears came. He decided that since he cried so rarely, the times when he did were somehow important. It was then that he noticed an uncomfortable tingling in his eyes, and he stood up, making his way into the bathroom connected to the master bedroom of the manor. He looked in the mirror, blinking away tears and discomfort, but he could see nothing wrong with his reflection in the mirror. He looked down at his father's haori in the mirror. "I'm gonna make you guys proud," he said aloud to no one, then sniffled. "I'm gonna be Hokage." He unzipped his neon orange jacket, shrugging it off and replacing it with the haori of the fourth Hokage. Believe it. Tazuna took a swig of sake and scowled. He turned and glared at the Hokage. "I paid for 4 ninjas. I'm looking at 1 ninja and 2 useless brats. At best that adds up to 3 people." He hiccuped. "Can't you idiots even count? Don't worry, you've paid for 4 ninjas and you will have your money's worth. You will be safe." The Hokage chuckled. "And the 4th is on his way." What's so funny? It's just ironic. The fourth is on his way. You wouldn't understand, but it's probably the most ironic sentence you've ever heard. Hinata and Kiba exchanged glances, while Asuma puffed on his cigarette, completely at ease. Kiba-kun, can you smell Naruto? Yeah, he's almost here, Kiba replied with a sniff. Akamaru barked in agreement. Took him long enough, though. Maybe he's been talking with Kakashi, Asuma joked. The doors to the Hokage's office opened, and Naruto entered. The third blinked as he immediately noticed the Haori Naruto wore. Underneath it he wore his favorite shirt, black with a fiery orange spiral on his chest, and pants of the darkest orange anyone had ever seen on Naruto. Sorry I'm so late, everyone, he said with a soft smile. I got here as fast as I could, believe it, but I slept in by accident. Sheepishly, he looked down and scratched the back of his head. There were two reasons for this. 1. His new bed in his parents' manor was incredibly comfortable. 2. He'd opened the Uzumaki clan trunk just before he went to bed. There had been envelopes he could open but didn't, a scroll he was completely unable to pry open, and most importantly a mound of gold coins filling the entire trunk, which was big enough to cram 2 or maybe 3 people into. It was like something out of a pirate movie. This left him wide awake until well past midnight. Naruto-kun. Hinata greeted him happily. He looks really different with that coat on, it's a good look for him, she noted. Kiba, meanwhile, cracked an amused smirk. It's like he doesn't know that coat is meant for a guy twice his size. Typical Naruto. Hey, Hinata. He turned to face Tazuna. You must be the bridge builder Tazuna. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, genin of Konoha and your bodyguard for the next month or so. He bowed politely. Tazuna opened his mouth to spit out another insult, but then Naruto's words registered, and he realized the slick little bastard had threatened him. Your bodyguard for the next month translates as your life and well-being are in my hands for the next month. Quote. Whatever. Keep me alive until the bridge is built, and I'll pay you. That's as far as this goes, we don't have to be friends. Fair enough. Let's get you home. Naruto. Kiba stared as the Jinchuriki passed him by, smiling but not grinning. What the hell happened to you? You were never this subtle, about anything. Your clothes, how you talk, even that stupid grin. Naruto. Hinata spoke up and walked beside Naruto. Are you feeling alright? Never better. Hinata. He let out one of his famous gleeful grins. But what was with you and Tazuna? Oh, that. I know by looking at Kiba that this baka was bothering you, so I wanted to tell him off, but a Hokage would be more, what's the word? Tactful. And where did the coat come from? My dad left it to me. Naruto beamed. Oh, that reminds me, he reached into his weapons pouch and pulled out an odd-looking kunai, with a bright yellow hilt and a 3-pronged blade. Flying Thunder God kunai. I have a whole bunch with me. He handed it to her, and she took it. My dad somehow used these to teleport, but he left me a letter saying I'd have to learn Fuinjutsu to understand how. The Hiraishin, Hinata breathed. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu. She handed the kunai back. That's an S-rank jutsu that only Hokage have ever learned. It's legendary. Naruto waved his hand. Keep it, I have spares. Besides, unless I learn the jutsu, it's just a really cool kunai. Thanks, Naruto. She smiled, and stashed the kunai in her own weapons pouch. Asuma passed the genin and Tazuna to lead the group out of Konoha. Come on, everyone, let's pick up the pace a little, he said as he lit a cigarette. The same tailwind currently blowing Naruto's Haori around would also carry his cigarette smoke, so he had to lead the group. Naruto grinned with pride when they passed the gates of the village, and nudged Hinata with his elbow. This is my first time leaving Konoha. What about you, Hinata? It's a first for me too, she answered softly. Hey, Naruto. Kiba stepped up beside his teammate and nudged him. You know that thing's way too big on you, right? Like, way too big. So, he replied casually, swishing the Haori which reached down to his ankles and almost touched the ground. It still looks cool, ya know. Well, yeah, Kiba admitted. But, look, there's a reason shinobi associate long coats with untouchable badasses, okay. Pull a kunai out of your hip pouch. Naruto shrugged and pushed his coat aside, reaching under it to retrieve the kunai. Okay, you see the problem, right? Long coats make it harder to reach your gear, plus they weigh you down and provide a way for an opponent to grab you. So wearing one doesn't make you a strong ninja, you have to be a strong ninja to get away with wearing one. Alright, I see your point, Naruto groaned loudly. It's just, I only found out who my parents were yesterday, ya know. Besides, this is our first mission and it's just AC rank. Let me have my fun just this once. Okay, Kiba answered placatingly, mark my words though. One day it's gonna be either you or that coat that gets shredded in a fight, so don't get too attached to it. They continued to chat for several hours, until that afternoon Naruto spotted something unusual ahead. It's summer, it hasn't rained in weeks, and the ground around us is dry, so what's with those two puddles? He drew a Hiraishin kunai. Hey, Hinata, how are you with kunai these days? Huh, we trained with kunai a week ago. Naruto, what are you thinking? She pulled out the kunai he had given her. I'll show you. What should we aim for? See that thing ahead of us? He pointed, and Hinata's eyes widened. His heart skipped a beat. She sees them. Aim for that. That disguise is a ninjutsu, no doubt about it. Enemy shinobi. She threw her kunai, and Naruto did the same. A kunai stabbed into each of the puddles, getting the attention of Asuma, Kiba and Tazuna. One merely turned red with blood, but the other transformed into a very angry ninja with a kunai in his left shoulder. You bastards! You killed my brother! He lunged forward in a blind rage, armed with a metal-clawed gauntlet on his right arm. Attached to the gauntlet was a chain covered in blades that trailed out uselessly behind him. Naruto shuddered at the feeling of helplessness that was suffocating him. What is this? A genjutsu? No, I can barely breathe. The ninja sprinted toward him furiously, his clawed arm raised for an attack. It's killing intent. I've never felt it before, it can't be simulated in training. He's going to kill me. 8 trigrams. Hinata lunged past Naruto and poked the missing nin in the chest twice, once with each index finger. 2 palms. She poked him in each shoulder. 4 palms. A poke to the forehead, solar plexus, right hip, and left cheek. 8 palms. She leapt away from her stunned opponent, and withdrew an ordinary kunai from the holster on her right thigh, throwing it directly into the missing nin's throat. He was replaced by a mossy log and a puff of smoke. Asuma put out his cigarette and leapt into the trees. He returned after roughly a minute with an unconscious missing nin over his shoulder. Tazuna. The bridge builder jumped at his name being called so sharply. Asuma dropped the beaten shinobi at his feet, and pointed at the surviving demon brother. Explain this. Now. Naruto shivered, his eyes wide and locked on the missing nin's limp form. I couldn't even move, he stepped toward his sensei numbly. Naruto-kun. Hinata laid a hand on his shoulder. Just take a deep breath, relax, he did this, and she smiled. It's all right, Naruto. It's over. I couldn't move, Hinata. I just froze. He looked down at the haori he wore, which he suddenly felt unworthy of. What if this happens to me every time? Killing intent affects everyone differently, Naruto-kun. Remember, we learned that in the academy. Some people freeze the first time, but it almost never stays with a trained shinobi beyond that. Next time, you'll be ready for it. Naruto looked up and smiled shakily. Thanks Hinata. You were amazing, by the way. The 8 trigrams, it was awesome. She smiled and blushed. Thanks. I've only reached 8 palms, but one day, I'll get to 64. Tazuna spent the next few minutes recounting his story, explaining his quest, Getu's villainy, and A-rank missions being far above what the Land of Waves could afford. I'm not sorry for what I did. An entire country, my home, is relying on me to build my bridge and save them, so damned if I wouldn't do this all over again. Please, help me. I can pay you for an A- rank once your mission is complete. Wave has vast potential for exporting luxuries, and the international market knows that. When the bridge is built, they'll be lining up to buy our goods, our economy will explode. I can't just accept a deal like that, Tazuna. I'd need the approval of the Hokage, but I can make you a deal for now. We'll accept C rank pay to take you to the land of waves, and send a message to Konoha upon our arrival. Ideally, that means we'll return home and be replaced by a squad of Junin or even the Anbu Black Ops. Asuma lit a fresh cigarette. That's the best I can offer you, no matter how much I sympathize with your intentions. Tazuna nodded. It's enough. Building that bridge means more to me than anything, and I don't care who keeps me alive until the job's done. If the Kyuubi no Kitsune offered me the finished bridge in exchange for my soul, I'd make that deal in a heartbeat. Naruto sneezed. That won't be necessary, and Biju don't buy souls, Asuma replied, and glanced at Naruto. The blonde genin was stooping to pet a pure white rabbit that was remarkably comfortable around people. Everyone, get ready to fight. That rabbit belongs to someone nearby. Shinobi use animals like this as messengers and occasional distractions. Naruto stood and drew a Hiraishin kunai. Kiba pulled Akamaru out of the collar of his hoodie and set him on the ground, and Hinata activated her Byakugan. Naruto brought the kunai to his mouth and declared, "Wind release, wind blade." He breathed out chakra in a steady stream of wind, creating a scimitar-like blade of wind chakra around the kunai, and wielded the newly formed sword with both hands. I won't freeze up like that ever again. Never. Whoever's out there, I don't care how much killing intent you hit me with. I won't falter, I won't give up, and I won't freeze like a coward. Believe it. An evil laugh echoed throughout the forest around them. Hidden mist jutsu. The air grew thick with white mist, and Naruto bared his teeth in frustration and suppressed fear. Hinata. He called, "Can you hear me?" "I'm right here," she answered, mere feet away. They were completely unable to see each other. Damn it. We can't fight in this. He raised the sword over his head and gathered his chakra, slower than he could with his hands not occupied with his weapon. Wind release. Wind scar. He brought the weapon down, but before his sword could touch the ground and release the jutsu, a massive sword intercepted his swing. Naruto found himself staring into the masked face of Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. Thought you'd blow away my mist with the wind release, huh kid? Not bad, but you're not the first to think of it. Zabuza chuckled darkly. The wind blade and wind scar are nice little jutsu, too. I take it Konoha genin aren't quite as pathetic as I've heard. Shut up. Naruto barked, and pushed Zabuza away, though it took extreme physical effort to budge one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Oh, I get it. You lost it in front of the demon brothers, and now your little ego's bruised. Do you even know who I am, kid? I said shut up. Naruto lunged with his sword, but Zabuza knocked the ethereal weapon aside with total ease. The wind blade was dispersed, leaving Naruto with just the kunai inside. Naruto, stand down. Team, protect Tazuna, and I'll deal with this guy. Asuma produced his signature daggers and engaged Zabuza, pushing Naruto aside to do so. This is bad. Zabuza Momochi is easily an S-rank missing nin. I don't stand a chance. In fact, Kakashi Hatake might be the only Junin in Konoha who could take him. But if I distract him, I might be able to buy the team enough time to escape. Wind release. A racing wind. A strong but harmless wind blew out from Asuma in all directions, pushing the mist away a considerable distance. Hinata sighed in relief. Being a Hyuga meant her ability to see an opponent was even more precious. Naruto looked at his teammates over his shoulder, then back to Asuma, who was battling Zabuza with 2 daggers, and losing ground with worrying speed. He can't do this alone. Kiba, use any ranged jutsu you've got. Hinata, use the water scattershot. Naruto threw his kunai, and Zabuza deflected it, but Naruto started making hand seals while he did. Wind release. Air bullet. Naruto cried, and shot a blast of deadly, forceful wind from his outstretched hands. Zabuza disengaged, leaping out of Asuma's melee range to deal with the threat of an A-rank jutsu. He batted the attack aside with his famous sword Kubikiri Bushu, but in the brief moment his vision was obscured by his own sword. Hinata began spitting out small blasts of water the size of phoenix flowers by the dozen. Zabuza scowled as he was forced to dodge and block the pesky little attacks, as he thought of them. Asuma, with renewed courage, dashed toward him with his daggers coated in chakra. Zabuza blocked his attacks, and detected one of the blonde brat's weird kunai flying at him. He leaned back, out of the path of the kunai, and smirked at Asuma, who stumbled forward. Zabuza planted a kick in Asuma's gut, and the Konoha Junin fell. Now, Naruto grinned, and threw a second kunai. Zabuza saw it coming and moved out of its path long before it reached him, but Naruto shouted, "Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu." Zabuza's eyes narrowed at the unfamiliar name. The jutsu had been created by the third Hokage and was known only in Konoha. Even then, only a few instructional scrolls existed, and the Hyuga clan's copy had mysteriously disappeared about a year ago. No one had noticed. The Hyuga dedicated themselves solely to their legendary taijutsu. The kunai copied itself as it flew, into no less than 300 deadly kunai which all kept the momentum and aim of the original. Zabuza winced, and took cover behind the blade of his massive sword. A few kunai grazed him, but it was of little concern. "Not bad, brat." Zabuza laughed, and glanced down at Asuma. Naruto had made sure every kunai passed over his sensei safely. "But I'm still standing. I'm still gonna kill you all," he finished in a low and menacing voice. The missing nin raised his sword with both hands, preparing to bring it down on a prone Asuma. As he began his swing, Naruto shouted out the name of another jutsu. Wind release. Air bullet. Zabuza swore as his blade descended. "I can't dodge mid-swing." He relaxed, however, when he saw that the air bullet's trajectory was off, and that was his mistake. Rather than hitting Zabuza, it struck Kubikiri Bushu, sending it and its wielder spinning wildly through the air, until they struck a tree with enough force to knock out the infamous missing nin. Zabuza's hands went limp and released his sword. Asuma got to his feet, lunging toward Zabuza as fast as his legs could move, which was quite fast. He raised his right hand, and with it a chakra-wreathed dagger, aiming to stab and finish the unconscious demon of the hidden mist. Two steel needles, however, reached their target before Asuma was even halfway to Zabuza. The missing nin's eyes flew open, bloodshot and terrified, but the senbon were already in his neck. Zabuza felt himself die with perfect, nightmarish clarity. A masked Anbu, from Kiri judging by his mask, revealed himself as the attacker by emerging from the trees. "I've been tracking this bastard for weeks. Thanks for your help." Asuma simply hunched over and coughed a bit of blood. The pain from Zabuza's kick had finally cut through his adrenaline rush. Damn, at least it wasn't a kick in the balls again. Naruto let his hands fall to his sides, grinning. "Thanks for your help," he replied. "I mean, we could have finished him, but thanks anyway. I did it. I didn't freeze up at all." He beamed and flipped a thumbs up. "We had this guy beat, believe it. And I didn't even use up a quarter of my chakra. At this rate I'll be Hokage in no time. I feel so powerful." "Damn right," Kiba added. "3 freaking genin. I don't know who that guy was, but when we get back we'll be legends. But I gotta learn some ranged jutsu, and fast." Hinata remained silent, but she too was smiling. "You know what?" the tracker nin asked. "I really believe you. You beat him, and I'll make sure you get sent a part of the bounty. You earned it, kids." The Anbu slung Zabuza's limp body over one shoulder, and retreated over the treetops without saying goodbye. Asuma looked up in shock and alarm. Damn it! He fell to his knees and pounded a fist into the ground. "He took the body. So?" Naruto asked, clueless. Zabuza woke, and immediately groaned at the pain of 2 needles, still embedded in his neck. He reached up and ripped one out, then the other. Haku, you cold little bastard. You could have at least pulled the needles out. He sat up and looked around, finding himself to be in a shack so ruined, he could see between each individual rotting plank. He had been laid on a table that looked ready to collapse under his weight. Haku, behind you. Zabuza turned, and saw his fellow missing nin seated in a comfortable chair, the only piece of furniture in the shack that looked serviceable. His fake Anbu mask sat in his lap. How the hell could you let yourself get beaten by one Junin? You're getting soft. It wasn't the Junin. He was no problem, but that blonde kid. What? Haku put on an exaggerated look of surprise. You didn't get beat by a Junin, but 3 genin. Konoha genin, no less. Don't push me, Haku. Zabuza scowled through his mask, and turned away so he could properly slouch forward. He ran his hands through his spiky black hair. That kid, the blonde genin. Of everyone there, not counting me, he was the closest thing to a real ninja. Cheap shots, double teaming, strategy. He protected his team but didn't let them slow him down, didn't hesitate to shoot when his sensei was right next to me. And aiming for my sword instead of me, clever. Zabuza chuckled darkly. Shame I've gotta kill him, and all his friends too. It's a waste really, but better him than us. I don't believe this, Haku teased. You really are going soft. Bullshit. You can call me soft if the kid lives, which he won't. Just because he reminds me of myself doesn't mean I won't eviscerate him. Asuma found Naruto and Hinata sitting on a boulder, taking a break from their training to share a few boxes of the local takeout ramen. Despite the events of the previous few days, they were smiling, as was usual for them in this situation. Asuma was halfway through his latest cigarette, and he'd decided to bring 2 months' supply of them, just in case this mission lasted far longer than expected. He looked around at the kunai embedded in large trees, the smaller saplings ripped out of the ground with wind and water release, along with logs clearly chopped to bits with a wind blade kunai. Not bad, he observed, and blew out a small cloud of smoke. Hey, Asuma-sensei, Naruto greeted without looking up from his meal. Hey, Naruto. Asuma took a seat on the boulder, with Naruto between him and Hinata. Can you explain something to me? I guess so, Naruto mumbled, only half paying attention. It's illegal for you to know the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto choked on his ramen and started coughing. Where'd you learn my father's jutsu? When he was done choking, Naruto steeled himself and looked his sensei in the eye. I'd rather be executed than tell you that, he said, deadly serious. Ah, thank you for that perfectly clear explanation. Asuma smirked. Naruto went white. The only reason for you to hide that secret would be to protect a friend who gave you the jutsu. Hinata started blushing faintly, since she knew where Asuma was going with this. Specifically, a friend in one of the noble clans that were given scrolls of the jutsu. You only have one such friend, and she happens to be from the only clan that would have little interest in that scroll, since they focus on taijutsu. Hinata's blush spread over her cheeks and darkened. Don't worry about it, though. Since the Uzumaki clan has an adult member once again, they're to be considered a valid noble clan, albeit one with little influence in Konoha. If there isn't already a copy of the scroll in your clan's library, there will be soon. Asuma smirked at their expressions. I gotta say I'm impressed by the devotion and loyalty you two have for each other. Hinata, you stole top secret documents from your own clan, and I doubt Naruto even asked you to. There's no way for him to have even heard about the jutsu before you brought it to him. And you, Naruto, seemed legitimately ready to die, just to protect that secret for Hinata. His head slightly to the side. This seems to run a little deeper than 2 genin working as a team. What do you mean? Naruto asked. At the same time Hinata shakily mumbled, it was nothing, I was just helping AF friend. Oh, come off it. Asuma chuckled. How long have you been dating? 2 years now. Hinata jumped at that. Naruto quickly replied, no way. If I was dating Hinata, I'd be taking her somewhere nicer for lunch. Ichiraku ramen is great, but it's not, it doesn't fit. Naruto looked down thoughtfully. Come to think of it, I'm a rich noble Uzumaki heir now. I could afford to do that. Hey, Hinata. Why yes, Naruto-kun. I saw this really fancy restaurant a little while ago called Shiro Kyuden. You wanna go there for dinner tonight? I mean, Geitu's probably the owner, but he cut himself off when he saw Hinata slump forward and fall to the ground, spilling what was left of the ramen she'd been furiously eating. What the? Hinata, are you okay? Asuma shook his head and laughed. Thank me later. I gotta go train Kiba in the fire release. Since when does Kiba have fire release? Since maybe 10 minutes ago, when I gave him a chakra receptive paper. Asuma turned to walk away, calling over his shoulder, oh, and don't worry, Hinata should be fine. She just fainted. Asuma returned to Tezuna's house, and found his remaining student arguing furiously with Tezuna's grandson. That's a coward's way of thinking. You don't give up if you wanna be the alpha male. You know what you are. You're a meek little omega wolf, born to be the lowest of the low. You've got no spine, brat. That's not how it works at all. Inari shouted back. People aren't wolves. I know a whole clan of ninjas that would disagree with you. We're just the same as wolves. We hunt and thrive in packs, we have alphas like me and omegas like you, and we spend our whole lives looking for 3 things. Power, a mate, and the next meal. Don't you ever forget that, kid. We're exactly like wolves. Geitu's too strong, Inari said in a low voice. He'll kill you all. He's not a wolf, he's a demon. He might be a demon, but I'm a frickin' ninja, kid. I like my chances. Kiba turned to see Asuma approach. Hey, Asuma-sensei. How are Naruto and Hinata doing? Asuma suppressed a chuckle. They're doing pretty good. Inari started crying loudly, and ran away. What got into him? He's a wimp, it's that simple. Kiba glanced over his shoulder in distaste. I think he might grow out of it, though. There's hope for him. Poor kid, Asuma observed. Living here, under Geitu, it can't have been easy. Kiba nodded. We can always learn to rise up, though, to be strong. No matter how young we are or where we grow up, we can learn to be strong. I just hope he figures that out one day. Akamaru gave a soft bark of agreement. So, fire release. What's the plan with my training? We'll start with a basic fireball jutsu. It's a simple, effective projectile, meant for damaging or outright killing the enemy, a staple fire release jutsu that even Junin with fire release will use. It's easy on your chakra and still deadly. It was dusk, the sun having just slipped past the horizon, but the Shiro Kyuden's white, polished walls still gleamed. It was like a temple, or a palace out of legend. Being an expensive and luxurious restaurant, it was near the heart of the tourists' district Geitu had ordered built and cut off from the rest of Wave. It was a massive source of income for the corrupt businessman, but since Naruto planned to overthrow him by the end of the month, he had no qualms about paying for one little meal here. Hinata stared blankly up at the extravagant, 2-story restaurant. She and Naruto stood side by side. The walls in front of them were concrete and covered completely in white marble, so perfect that Hinata found herself looking for signs of a genjutsu. Naruto-kun. Naruto looked away from the Kyuden and back to Hinata, who was blushing and poking her index fingers together, for the first time in nearly a year. What's wrong, Hinata? She trailed off and looked down. Is this a date? She winced and blushed even deeper. Never mind. Let's just have a nice night. Naruto nodded. Yeah, it'll be great. They made their way to the entrance, 2 doors of solid white marble, thin so they weren't too heavy, and engraved with the image of a phoenix with wings spread wide. The entire lower floor wasn't a restaurant at all, but a forum of some kind. Naruto whistled as he looked around. The inside wasn't genjutsu white as the outside was. The floor beneath them was hardwood, spotless and polished until it looked like glass. In each corner of the room was a fountain, in the shape of a gilded lion rearing over a pool of glistening blue water. The water trickled out between each lion's bared teeth. In the center of the room was a tightly spiraling staircase to the next floor, with water flowing down around the staircase. An arch was installed over the base of the stairs to deflect the water for people to walk through. As soon as Naruto and Hinata spotted it, however, they saw a waiter dressed in a black linen robe, who was approaching through the arch and didn't look happy. "Hey," Naruto called with a grin and a wave, table for two. "How old are you, brat?" The waiter glared at him. 10. "You need either a reservation or 1.5 million Ryu cash to dine here." "I'm 12, Naruto replied, "and I don't like your tone." He turned to Hinata, and whispered very subtly, "Go along with this," and winked. He turned back to the waiter with feigned but convincing fury, channeling the insulting words Zabuza had spoken to him mere days ago. "Do you even know who we are?" "Should I care?" The waiter replied sarcastically. "You're dressed like commoners, am I to assume you're in disguise or something?" "Why, yes, you are. How else could we stroll through Wave without being swarmed by the masses?" "I am." He paused to consider an alias, but managed to make it sound dramatic. "Ichigo of the Kurosaki clan, and this is my fiancée Rukia of the Kuchiki clan." "You said 1.5 million Ryu, correct? I suppose I could just hand it over. It's petty cash to me after all, but to be quite blunt, I don't like you. You called me a brat. So," he declared, and paused again, "I'll try this again. Table for two, please, and after our meal, you are to bring Getu, or whoever it is that runs this establishment, to our table that we might speak to him. He really ought to have a list of noble clan names handed out to you people." The waiter blanched. Kurosaki, Kuchiki, the names do sound a bit familiar, some far-off noble clans, maybe. My apologies, Kurosaki-sama, Kuchiki Harem, but the Shiro Kyuden is black tie only. I have to ask you to leave and return in formal wear. Leave? I think not. It's getting late, and speaking for myself, I'm quite hungry. Don't you agree, Rukia? Rukia nodded. "Yes, it's best you simply escort us to our meal," she said with as much steel in her voice as she could. Naruto clasped his hands together, and Hinata followed suit, getting the idea. Transformation jutsu. They called in stereo, and the waiter blinked in surprise. Ninjutsu. Are they shinobi nobles, or did their parents buy them ninja tutors or something? Naruto had transformed into a version of himself wearing a deep orange, unadorned robe, with a white belt tied in a bow at his waist and white trim at his collar, wrists and ankles. Hinata's clothes were replaced by a pristine white kimono with subtle lavender swirling designs. "Is this acceptable?" Ichigo asked. "It's fine," the waiter replied after hesitating. "Table for two, right this way." He led them up the spiral staircase, and sat them at a table comfortably secluded in the corner, with a view out the window to the ocean surrounding the land of waves. "Kei Kurosaki?" Hinata finally asked when they were alone. "It's a reference to a manga I read once." Naruto looked down at the table and smiled thoughtfully. "You know, my parents decided I wasn't supposed to get access to the Uzumaki clan funds until I was a legal adult. I think I know why now." He nodded to the waiter in the distance. "If I could have talked to people like that from birth, with no parents to keep me in line, imagine the kind of brat I'd be today, assuming I hadn't bankrupted the clan by this point." He looked around at the upper floor of Shiro Kyuden, which had a distinctly Western theme to it. The place was lit with chandeliers and softly scented candles, and the tables and chairs had legs carved in elaborate swirls. Each table was stained dark, varnished, and polished, to be beautiful and easy to wipe clean. The table faintly showed the rings of the tree it had been made from, fitting since it was circular. "What's this?" He reached out and plucked a white ceramic bottle from the dead center of the table. "It's sake," Hinata explained. "Expensive restaurants sometimes provide free alcohol, so their rich customers are less conscious of how much expensive food they're buying. It's a low tactic, but effective." "I don't get it. How does that work?" "Naruto, Don't you know what alcohol is? She took the bottle gently, and set it down where it had been. It's a drink intended for adult consumption, that dulls your mind slightly, and gradually takes away your inhibitions. Huh. He picked up one of the ivory saucers next to the bottle, filled it with sake, and fired back his first drink ever. Oh dear Cammy, that's disgusting, he choked. You're not supposed to drink it that fast. Hinata said, shocked. Watch. She poured a saucer of the alcohol, and a single sniff told her it was sake of the same quality Hyuga nobles would buy. She brought it to her lips and sipped it delicately. A rosy blush spread over her cheeks in a matter of seconds, and she giggled. I can only handle one saucer of this stuff before bad things start happening, she said in an eerily cheerful voice. Naruto put his empty saucer over the bottle as a lid. Bad things. Hinata mumbled something very quietly. Naruto only caught the phrases, drunken fist, dad's birthday, and, ruined the whole party. He decided not to press the issue. From the look in Hinata's eyes he could see it wasn't a happy memory. The same waiter from before brought them 2 scrolls, his demeanor markedly changed. He actually smiled when he noticed the alcohol-induced blush on their cheeks. Kurosaki-sama, Kuchiki Haim, here are your menus. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that Getu-sama has accepted your invitation, and will meet you after your meal. He's a polite man and will not intrude on your romantic evening, which I personally hope you enjoy. Your cooperation is appreciated, Naruto replied stiffly. I would also, the waiter continued, like to apologize for my behavior earlier tonight. It was an error I will take great care not to repeat. Good. Naruto unfurled the scroll and read through the menu, and the waiter bowed. I will return in a few minutes, when you have made your decision, he said, and retreated hastily. I kinda feel bad about doing this to him, Naruto admitted. I feel evil, you know. Maybe I should apologize when we leave. Sorry, Naruto-kun, but I really think that's a bad idea. It could blow our cover completely. He nodded solemnly. Good point. But why did you do it? If he'd seen through your act, we might have had to fight, and that would risk the mission. I mean, it was convincing, but why put that much on the line? Naruto looked down sheepishly. Sorry, Hinata. I hadn't thought of it. I just wanted to give you a good time. Her eyes widened, and she blushed. You did that, risked our lives, to take me to dinner. Ah, man, he mumbled, even more apologetic. Now I feel really bad. I could have gotten us both killed. No, Hinata replied firmly. Don't think like that. It was reckless, maybe, but it worked. And it was really sweet of you. The blush from the alcohol darkened sharply, and she murmured something incoherent, before opening her menu and finding something that looked suitably delicious. Naruto stared down at his own scroll, squinting in his confusion. Huh, nothing here is anything like ramen. I have no idea what to pick. Just skip straight to dessert, Hinata advised. I know plenty of Hyuga nobles who do that all the time. In fact, I think I'll try it myself. As if on cue, the waiter returned, smiling amicably. Have you made your decision, Kuchiki Haim, Kurosaki-sama? Yes, Hinata returned the smile. I'll have this foreign confection. She pointed to the image on the scroll. Cheesecake. I'm not at all familiar with the name. An excellent choice, he said with a nod, and scribbled it down. And you, Kurosaki-sama? HN. Naruto nodded thoughtfully. I think I'll try it as well. Bring 2 of them. The waiter bowed and left the 2 to their own devices. Naruto asked, once they were alone, any idea what we just ordered? I never looked at what it was. It's, how should I put this? She stared at where her scroll menu had been. From what I read, it's a brick of heavy, sweet soft candy, made with a lot of milk and sugar. It's really rich, a small one should be enough for the whole meal. She paused, then added, it's impossible to eat with chopsticks, you need a foreign utensil called a fork. I've seen those before, they're not hard to use, but it's a strange concept. Almost 20 minutes later, the waiter laid their meal before them, and Naruto grinned down at the cheesecake. It smells delicious. The waiter inclined his head with a soft smile. As he turned away, Naruto caught a glimpse of the smile turning into a sneer. Rukia, hold on a moment, Ichigo said, with a subtle hint of urgency. As the waiter left, Naruto reverted to his true character. Let me check for poison. I don't trust this. Hinata's eyes widened, and she set down the fork that was almost to her mouth. Poison. I think that guy got the Bleach reference. I don't understand. Our names. They're a reference to a manga, and I guess that waiter made the connection after he let us in. Naruto made a hand seal, and held one hand over each cheesecake. Yeah, there it is, a slow-acting poison coupled with a truth serum. Truth serum? Hinata blinked. Of course. Getu's going to come out here and talk to us, expecting us to confess we're shinobi, and tell him if we have allies here, or a mission to kill him. Typical manga villain's move, too, Naruto added. Rather than send a proxy or even a convincing body double, he'll come right out here and meet the two people he knows are the ninja heroes. Well, actually we can only get that far if he knows we've eaten the food. And we will. Ah, medical ninjutsu. I never was much good with it, Naruto admitted, but I can eliminate a poison when it's concentrated to one place like in food. With a person it's different, flowing all around in the blood, so much harder. He held his hands out over the food again, and sent a soft green light out from his palms. Quote. There. To be safe, he added, dodge that spot there. He pointed to the center of the cake. That's where the poison was injected. That's impressive, Naruto-kun. Not really. Anyone with the slightest training in medical ninjutsu could manage it, even if they ate as bad as I did. Thanks though. He took a bite of his cake. Get past the poison, and this stuff is pretty good. Hinata sighed as she took a bite as well. Not bad at all. When they were half finished their meal, a short, balding man in a Western business suit approached them, snatching a chair from a nearby, unoccupied table and placing it between Naruto and Hinata. He sat, smirking with satisfaction. I see you've enjoyed your meal, he sneered. Getu, I presume, Naruto replied coldly, then took another bite of his cake. Yes, the meal is quite nice. Getu chuckled. So, Ichigo Kurosaki, what brings you to the land of waves? Oh, we've mostly been sightseeing. Naruto looked him in the eye with a false smile and waved his hand. I couldn't help but notice the impoverished and oppressed people that surround this little tourist's attraction. Who are you two, really? I know you're not who you say you are. Naruto glanced at Hinata, who nodded subtly. My name, and this is the truth, is Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a genin of Konoha, and sole heir to the Uzumaki clan, former main clan of the ninja village of Uzushio, in the land of whirling tides. I suppose you could say we were royalty there. And your little girlfriend? Getu sneered, liking where this was going. I can speak for myself, Hinata said with a piercing glare. I'm Hinata Hyuga, also a genin of Konoha. I'm a princess of the Hyuga clan, wielder of the Byakugan Dujutsu, and I can kill you by poking you in any one of the 361 chakra points on your body, which I can see quite clearly. Naruto, oblivious though he was, clearly noticed her not objecting to the term girlfriend. Getu nodded at her introduction, eyebrows raised over his black sunglasses. And why are you really here? Why? Hinata echoed. To enjoy this delicious cheesecake, of course. She held up a forkful of the confection, and popped it in her mouth. So you're not here to kill me? Getu asked. Straight to the point then, Hinata replied. Naruto saw the opportunity, and seized it. No, we're not here to kill you. That said, I wouldn't mind ending you at all. You're a blatantly rude little man, since you sent your waiter to tell us you'd meet us after our date, then interrupted us without warning. Date? Hinata turned to look at Naruto, her heart pounding immediately. Did he just say date? Satisfied, Getu withdrew a small bottle from the inside pocket of his suit. I can't have guests dying in my restaurant, This is the antidote for the poison that was in your meal. He stood. Naruto called. Wait. Geto froze mid-step. Consider the fact you're alive payment enough for this meal, particularly since you poisoned it. Geto turned, fury written on his face, but he forced himself back into a cool, smug demeanor. Fine. Get out of here, he spat. Naruto stood, and Hinata followed suit. He took her hand, drawing a quiet gasp from her, and the two walked side by side toward the staircase. Naruto made certain to knock his shoulder against Geto's. The short man was no taller than the 12-year-old genin, so the hit connected and knocked him aside. He growled, but held his peace. Little ninja brat, I hope you choke on that antidote. As soon as they were outside, the transformation jutsu dispelled, and their clothes returned to normal. Naruto looked up at the clear night sky, and the moon shining in it. You know, that was pretty exciting. Maybe we should do it again sometime, MMF. Hinata considered pulling back, breaking off the kiss a moment after it began, but she was frozen in place. She couldn't move forward or back, she simply stood where she was and thought, what have I done? I kissed him. I'm kissing Naruto-kun. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't. It was too early. I never even told him I. She shut her eyes tighter, flinching from the thought. Her heart was in her throat, no longer with excitement but with unbridled terror. I never told him, but he said, girlfriend, date. The fear receded for a moment, then came flooding back through her thoughts. I rushed it and I just ruined everything. After this, he won't even be able to look at me. She opened her eyes wide, finally realizing that he was kissing her back. Now that she was looking, she saw that he was just as bright red as she was, and shaking slightly just like her. He's scared too. He's like me, he doesn't know what to do here. She sighed softly, closing her eyes once more. And one of us has to figure that out, we can't just stand here forever. But now that her fear was gone, now that Naruto was kissing her back and everything felt happy again, she mused, I guess I wouldn't mind. She pulled away slowly, hesitantly, looking down and blushing a brighter red than she had ever before. Now that she'd moved back and his eyes were open, he could see her again, and he'd never looked at her like this before. Naruto and Hinata lay stretched out in a bed of grass, deep in the forest of the land of waves. Their forehead protectors rested over their eyes to blot out the bright noon sunlight. Their heads and shoulders touched gently, and they smiled up at the sky serenely. This, Naruto decided, was the happiest he'd ever been. It had been only 2 weeks since their date at the Shirokyuden, but Hinata had already begun to come further out of her shell than ever before. Whenever they trained, she'd removed her hoodie. The t-shirt beneath that bore the Hyuga emblem was the only thing without short sleeves he'd ever seen her in. At first, she'd been blushing as though she had just stripped to her underwear, but gradually, she'd gotten used to it. The light breeze brushing her bare arms had become something enjoyable. An hour ago, they'd been developing and practicing a new supplementary ninjutsu, but there were no signs of damage to the ground or the trees. And yet, when it was complete, it would be a fearsome weapon. The sound of crunching dead leaves was audible with their ears so close to the ground. Both of them realized someone was coming, and the sound didn't fit Kiba or Asuma. Both would either have heavier footfalls, or none at all if they were being stealthy. This was a child their age, small and light on his or her feet. Hinata whispered, Byakugan. She saw a slim, pale girl with long black hair enter her field of vision with a wicker basket. A closer inspection revealed a knife in the basket, suitable for cutting the stems of herbs but also with a potential for killing. The girl was giving Naruto and Hinata a look of confusion as she approached. The girl stopped at the feet of the two shinobi. Excuse me, but, what are you two doing out here? Naruto sat up, catching his forehead protector as it fell from his eyes. Hinata did the same, but deactivated her Byakugan first. Just relaxing, Naruto replied. But why here? Hinata blinked. That voice. I know it from Samui here. We were training before this. We're shinobi, Naruto said proudly, not recognizing the missing nin without a mask. We could have hurt somebody if we did it near civilians. Shinobi, the girl echoed softly. But you're so young, no older than me. We're trained from childhood, Hinata answered, because we learn best at a young age. Imagine when you learned to speak. It was easy because you were born into it. Where have I heard this voice before? My name is Haku, the girl introduced herself. I'm Hinata. This is Naruto, she replied courteously. So, what brings you out here, Haku? The girl paused. I have devoted my life to help one who is precious to me. He is very sick, and I'm here to find the herbs to cure him. Naruto nodded, and stood. Someone precious to her. I can respect that. We'll help. What herbs are you looking for? Haku took a small, worn book out of the basket, and flipped it open to a marked page. This is the most important one, she showed him the page. Hinata stood and looked at it as well. But that's, shinobi use it on poisoned wounds as a substitute for medical ninjutsu. It counteracts paralyzing and weakening toxins, not lethal ones, and not illness. Are you sure that's not the wrong herb? Hinata asked delicately. What exactly is this man suffering from? Listen closely. Listen to her voice. He came home one day with a bloody scratch on his neck. This time, Hinata got it. It's you, she shouted, and stepped back to initiate a gentle fist stance. Zabuza's partner. Naruto's eyes widened, and he started making hand seals immediately. Hinata's right, it's her. Wind release. Wind scar. Ice release. Frost shield. The missing nin stopped Naruto's jutsu effortlessly, raising a sheet of ice-like glass from the earth. The small blades of wind scattered harmlessly against the shield, which then crumbled. Please understand, I don't want to kill anyone. Even though Zabuza-sama is far more precious to me, no life is worthless. Naruto's and Hinata's eyes widened. That power, it's so much like our snow release, is it a Kekkei Genkai? Heads up, punk. Everyone looked up to a tree branch high above, where Kiba and Akamaru were perched. Fire release. Phoenix flower jutsu. He ignited his breath with chakra and blew forth 100 small fireballs at Haku. The missing nin deflected and dodged all of them with her frost shield and her speed. Great fireball jutsu. He launched a larger fireball that briefly consumed his opponent in an explosion. Kiba flung himself off the branch, using the transformation jutsu as he did to turn into a small rock and land with a thump on the ground. Haku emerged from the fireball as it died down, still unharmed. Please stop this. I didn't come to fight, I just want the herbs. Naruto and Hinata briefly faltered at the desperation in Haku's tone, but steeled themselves when the missing nin reached into her basket and pulled out a pouch, filled not with herbs but with senbon. She charged toward the Konoha shinobi, flinging handfuls of needles. Wind release. A racing wind. A blast of wind from Naruto scattered the senbon needles harmlessly. Kiba's transformation ceased, and he threw himself at Haku, spinning wildly. Passing Fang. He roared as he struck, sending Haku flying. Haku rolled to her feet, with a shield of ice levitating in front of her chest. Kiba threw a kunai at her, which likewise struck the shield harmlessly. He formed a hand seal sequence none of the other three ninja had seen before, and brought his index and middle fingers to his lips. Fire release. Ash pile burning. He blew out a steady stream of ash and gunpowder, from which Haku was forced to retreat. Kiba clicked his teeth together, and the cloud of ash ignited into a fireball that momentarily blinded her. When Haku's vision cleared, 3 Kibas were sprinting toward her on all fours. The first punched her, but the fist passed straight through her, revealing itself to be a clone jutsu. Wind release. Air bullet. Haku turned to deal with the extremely deadly ninjutsu, allowing what she thought was another clone to strike her. Kiba sent her sprawling to the ground, and both of them fell past the air bullet. Kiba pulled back his fist to punch her again, but Haku shoved a fistful of senbon into his gut, and he howled in pain. He rolled off of her and tried to pull the cluster of needles from his flesh, while Haku stood to confront the other two genin. The remaining clone punched her in the face, drawing blood from her lip. I'm not prepared to deal with this, Haku contemplated quietly. These herbs don't matter that much. I can resupply some other time, she thought, and called, substitution. The remaining clone transformed into a white puppy that spun through the air, peeing on her as it did. Jutsu. He reappeared at the edge of the forest, in place of a log that had sat against an old, dying tree. Was that urine? He asked himself incredulously. Meanwhile, Kiba was sitting up, having pulled the Senbon out of his belly. Hinata set to work on healing the cluster of tiny wounds, which were together enough to be a danger to the Inuzuka genin. That was amazing, Kiba-kun. She beamed. To have come so far with the fire release after mere weeks of training. Yeah, it was pretty cool, huh? Kiba smirked, then winced at the pain in his abdomen. That last jutsu, the ash pile burning, it's strong, but it takes a lot out of me. Asuma-sensei said he made it up himself. He groaned, and Akamaru came to his side, whining in concern. Not bad for 2 weeks though, huh? I got that guy pretty good. Guy. Naruto and Hinata questioned in sync. The ice dude. Haku. Naruto shuddered. And I was thinking to myself, she was almost as pretty as Hinata. Yeah, he looked like a girl, I know, but nothing can fool an Inuzuka's nose. Guys and girls smell completely different. Kiba winced again at the pain, but then it receded. Okay, you're good to go, Hinata declared with a smile. You're lucky those were Senbon and not a kunai. I wouldn't have been able to repair that kind of wound. Thanks, Hinata-chan. Kiba stood, and picked up Akamaru, placing the white Ninken puppy inside his hoodie. Akamaru barked happily. I came out here to see how your training was coming along, but then I felt that third chakra signature. And showed up to save us, which was awesome, Naruto finished, and grinned. We could have handled him, he paused. But thanks anyway. It was really cool, believe it. Kiba nodded. So, did you guys pick up any new jutsu since we came here? Well, we came up with a few variations of existing jutsu, Hinata admitted. Naruto, should we show him one? Naruto drew a flying thunder god kunai, poked the air in front of himself, then dropped it. Hinata blinked once, then deciphered the hidden message and nodded. She drew her own kunai and threw it at a tree. She used a substitution on her own kunai mid-flight, and maintained its momentum, punching the air between herself and the tree to show the offensive potential of the jutsu. Naruto then drew a second kunai, poked toward himself, and let it drop, hitting the first with a clinking sound. Hinata nodded again, and he threw a kunai at a tree to her side, but she used a substitution to switch places with it. The kunai slammed into the tree while she reappeared past it. Kiba whistled. Not bad, he observed. You actually took the time to weaponize the substitution jutsu. It takes the enhanced vision of a Byakugan to do it consistently, but yes, Hinata admitted. I can use it to close in on an opponent and use my gentle fist, or seemingly pass through enemy weaponry unharmed. Ice release. Sealing ice dome. Everyone's eyes widened, and each of them tried to react, but it was too late. A sheet of ice grew up out of the ground, surrounding them from all directions and completing a dome around them in a matter of seconds. Haku's voice echoed inside the dome. I'm sorry, but Zabuza-sama must complete his mission unhindered by you. This dome will maintain itself until the air inside is depleted of oxygen past survivable levels. You will not die, but Tazuna will, and your sensei will likely join him. Please, forgive me, Tem. Naruto growled. You think this thing can hold us? If you break free, I will be forced to kill you. Think about that for a moment, no one wants that. Haku fell silent, and Naruto concluded that the missing nin had left. Wind scar. Naruto roared, and slapped his hands down on the ground. Blades of wind lashed out at the section of the dome in front of him, but they only chipped the surface. Damn it! Naruto-kun, wait! Hinata cried, as he was about to form an air bullet. This dome is made of ice, maybe Kiba can melt it with the fire release. I can try. Hold on. That's it. Naruto cried triumphantly. Kiba, you can use a fire jutsu to use up the air in here, while we hide in a water encampment from Hinata. The dome is set to come down once there's not enough oxygen to breathe. Kiba nodded. I know a jutsu that'll work. Hinata, get ready. But, Hinata paused. What if it's set to a specific time, not to measure the oxygen level in here? We'd kill ourselves. Maybe. Naruto looked down at his hands, and made a few seals. Wind release. A racing wind. A blast of fresh air swept past her from Naruto, and she noticed that it didn't have a scent at all, unlike the air already in the dome which smelled of grass and ice. We can create our own fresh air inside the water encampment, and the dome shouldn't be able to detect it. Alright, let's do it. Kiba replied. Asuma-sensei and Tazuna-san are counting on us to save their lives. We can't waste time like this. They can't handle Zabuza and that ice guy without us. He made a short sequence of hand seals. Fire release. Grand Fireball Jutsu. He breathed out a plume of shimmering fire, which struck the wall of the dome and smoldered there. Naruto fanned the flames by shouting, Wind release, air bullet. That's enough, Hinata called. We can't risk burning ourselves to death in here. Water release. Water encampment jutsu. A small, thin dome of water sprang up around her feet, growing to consume her, Naruto, and Kiba with Akamaru. It didn't need to be thick to hold in the air, which made it easier for her. The second Hokage had been able to create a full water wall without an existing source of water, but she wasn't the Hokage. She was a genin, and to conserve her chakra she made use of the water in the ground. The flames spread over the grass, and smoke began to fill the dome. Hinata kept her hands clasped together in a seal to maintain the smaller dome of water around the genin. The ice dome remained unharmed, despite the chakra-fueled flames growing to fill it with smoke and heat. Wind release. A racing wind. The gust of wind was indeed fresh, breathable air, but it tore through Hinata's wall of water. She whimpered with pain and exertion, trying to reform the bubble of water, but it wasn't meant for this purpose, and it collapsed. The three genin took in a breath of smoke, and fell. Kiba, Naruto wheezed, kill the flames. The Inuzuka did this with a simple wave of his hand, but the smoke and depleted air remained. Smoke rises, he coughed. Heads to the, he coughed again. Dirt. Naruto and Hinata dove to the ground shortly after he did. Akamaru leapt out of his hoodie so his partner could lay down without crushing him. Wind release. A racing wind. The three of them savored the fresh air, clearing their lungs of as much smoke as possible. That, Ed, Kiba observed, panting. Akamaru whined, apparently agreeing. We can still do this. Hinata stood, and added, Byakugan. At once, her pale Dujutsu eyes scanned the entirety of the dome, searching for a weak point in the structure. Her first guess had already been proven right. The dome was laced with Haku's chakra. Now, look for the point where there's the least chakra in the structure. There. She memorized the spot, turned to face it, and turned off her Byakugan to conserve chakra. Hinata, what did you see? Naruto noticed her rapidly making hand seals with no sign of slowing down, and he began to recognize the pattern. His eyes widened as he realized what her new plan was. Naruto, Kiba, Akamaru, hold your breath, she ordered, and clasped her hands together in the final bird hand seal. Water release. Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu. Hinata opened her mouth, and out of it exploded a torrent of water that took the form of an angry-looking dragon. She'd only used this jutsu once before, and the chakra drain had left her unconscious for nearly an hour. That had, however, been a year ago, and she prayed that she was strong enough, even as she felt her chakra levels plummet. She watched the dragon ram facefirst into the weak spot on the dome, which she assumed had been the farthest point from Haku when he cast it. Water began to fill the dome, as the dragon was destroyed by each impact it delivered. It roared and reformed from the water each time, while Hinata continued to expel more from her mouth. She was faltering. Sweat dripped down her face along with the splashes of water, and she was getting lightheaded. Finally, she stopped generating water, and gasped in a deep breath. Pink and purple stars obscured her vision, and she distantly felt herself fall forward with a splash into 2 feet of water. Hinata. It took her a moment to recognize the voice as Naruto's, despite how loud he was screaming. That voice, coupled with the basic reaction to drowning, forced her to flail into a sitting position and cough up the water she had swallowed. She looked at where her dragon bullet had struck, and smiled. It was cracked badly. I can finish this. She stood, but the weight of her soaked clothes forced her down again. Naruto locked eyes with her, and nodded to answer the question she hadn't asked. He turned to face the crack in the ice, forming hand seals. Wind release. Drilling air bullet. He punched forward, sending a blast of faintly white glowing wind forward, and it spiraled as it flew. His favorite attack, created by Shukaku the one-tailed raccoon according to legend, slammed into the weakened section of the dome, finishing what Hinata had started and opening a hole in the dome big enough for the 3 genin. Naruto didn't hesitate. He made his way as quickly as possible to Hinata, shortly followed by Kiba. Together, 2 genin carried the third between them, and exited the dome along with the water of Hinata's finished attack. And I thought I was so awesome 'cause I learned the Grand Fireball, Kiba said with disbelief. That's gotta be the strongest jutsu I've ever seen. Way to go, Hinata. The last time she used it, Naruto spoke with concern, might have killed her. Hinata promptly passed out in their arms. She's strong, and so am I, but there are some jutsu a 12-year-old genin just can't handle. This kind of chakra exhaustion, he shook his head. She'll be out of it for a while. Naruto and Kiba set her down on the wet grass. What do we do now? Kiba asked. Do we go on without her? Stay here until she recovers? I don't know. Naruto ran a hand through his spiky hair, worried and frustrated. Or, I do know, but I don't want to do it. She picked her up again, bridal style, and set her gently in a sitting position at the base of a tree. Hinata-chan. He took off his father's haori, and draped it around her to keep her warm, then turned to Kiba. Let's go. Kiba nodded, and they took to the treetops in pursuit of Haku. Naruto had already drawn one of his father's kunai, and was now holding it between his bare teeth as he sprinted through the treetops on all fours. Hinata woke, shivering under Naruto's haori. She gasped as she realized where she was, and remembered what had happened. I tried to either break the dome or fill it with water. She grasped the haori tightly. I have enough chakra, she thought aloud, stuttering and shivering. T to fight again. She stood, and winced at the cold as the haori fell. She picked it up and put it on over her drenched hoodie. Byakugan. She scanned the area for signs of Naruto's chakra, then started using the telescopic range of the Hyuga's Dujutsu to search Tazuna's house. It was empty, but there were no signs of a battle and no blood. She guided her vision along the road leading from Tazuna's house to the bridge, and saw Tsunami and Inari with 2 of Geitu's thugs knocked unconscious at their feet. She moved her vision to the bridge, and found Naruto, Asuma, and Kiba up against Zabuza and the masked shinobi she now knew to be Haku. She deactivated her Byakugan and headed to their rescue. More than once, she stumbled on a tree limb, still weak from using all her chakra for a water dragon bullet, but pressed on. I won't let this be, Naruto-kun. I won't let you fight this battle alone, not so long as I can stand. She broke through to the edge of the forest, not breaking stride at all. She leapt to the nearest road, and kept running. She blew past a startled Inari and Tsunami, pouring chakra into her legs for maximum speed. So that's the power of a ninja, Inari breathed. And we have 4 of them on our side. We can't lose now, Mom, not even against Geitu. He flashed a toothy grin. I'm gonna go, and get the villagers to help them. Just wait, Kiba-sensei, I'll be an alpha wolf after all. Hinata panted as she approached the bridge, and when it came into the sight of her deactivated Byakugan, she gasped. Asuma was unconscious in a pool of blood, Kiba was fighting Zabuza alone, and Naruto was trapped in a dome of floating ice plates. Every inch of his body had been peppered with Senbon needles. Naruto-kun, she screamed, and he turned to face her, eyes wide. She dashed closer to Haku's ice release, and when she was within a relatively close range, she cried, "Substitution jutsu." Naruto appeared 20 feet outside the dome, and she took his place in the middle of Haku's ultimate jutsu. Hinata, the masked missing nin, greeted softly from within all 21 ice mirrors. Naruto told me you were incapacitated. I can still fight, she replied angrily. Byakugan. I'm sorry to hear that, Hinata. Does that mean you will force me to kill you? Haku threw a Senbon at her right hip, but she saw it coming with her Byakugan and dodged. I will tell you what I told Naruto. Remain still, and allow Zabuza-sama to kill Tazuna. Do this, and I will not kill you. Did he accept that deal? No. Then I won't. Haku sighed, and removed his mask. She could see that the missing nin had tears in his eyes. All these years of serving Zabuza-sama, and I have not yet taken a life. Please, don't make me do this. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, and shook his head. This is the last thing I'd want to. Hinata saw her chance, and seized it. Water release. Water bu. Haku's eyes snapped open, wide with fury, and she felt herself getting stabbed in 21 different places, one for each mirror. Haku. They were too fast. My Byakugan couldn't even see them. Hinata. Naruto roared, and his desperation renewed his strength. He sprinted through a gap between two mirrors, and dove to her side as she crumpled to her hands and knees. Haku threw one more Senbon, aimed at Naruto's heart. Time seemed to slow down for Hinata. Unlike before, she could clearly see this needle, and she managed to move fast enough to intercept it, even though she had been on her knees. She coughed as it struck her in the center of her chest. For a brief moment, she could hear nothing. No one spoke, no one even breathed, and oddly, she couldn't hear the heartbeat that had been pounding in her ears beforehand. Then she sighed, and fell. Naruto screamed. His eyes suddenly felt like they were on fire, and a voice, unlike any he'd ever heard before, thundered in his mind, "What would you do to save her?" To erase this moment as though it had never happened to her. An aura of horrifying, visible red chakra consumed him, and the whisker marks on his cheeks thickened. He closed his eyes, still screaming in the real world, but inside, a numbing, frightening calm had washed over him. The answer was obvious. Anything. I'd fight, kill, and die. I'd do anything for her. Then you are worthy. Save her. The red chakra vanished, and Naruto opened his eyes. The mirrors, and their projections of Haku, seemed to move away from him in fear. When he looked down at Hinata, saw the chakra reserves in her body badly depleted, and what little remained was fading from the world completely. He pulled the fatal Senbon out of her heart, then looked up at Haku with his Rinnegan. I'm sorry. Haku began. Naruto dropped the Senbon and held out his hand, wet with Hinata's blood and his own. Diva Path. Shinra Tensei. The mirror shattered, and its pieces were blown backward by an invisible force that clearly wasn't wind release. The real Haku jumped free of another mirror, and retreated away from Naruto, who didn't follow. Instead he knelt next to Hinata, and formed a sequence of hand seals, none of which Haku had ever seen before. He laid a hand on her belly, and whispered words Haku was too far away to hear. Outer path, Rinne Tensei. At the same time a spike of Naruto's hair at the edge of his forehead turned white. Hinata gasped. Haku's eyes widened. That's completely impossible. My Senbon pierced her heart. She died. Naruto nodded to himself in satisfaction and stood, watching the other 21 needles being forced out of Hinata's healing wounds. She breathed heavily, her lavender eyes wide with disbelief and staring up at the sky through Haku's ice mirrors. Naruto-kun, she gasped. Hinata. Naruto fell to his knees at her side. Are you all right? He called desperately. She gasped again as he came into the line of sight of her deactivated Byakugan eyes. Why your eyes? They hurt, Naruto admitted. What's wrong with them? Am I injured? Rinnegan, she breathed. His eyes, solid purple with a pattern of black, concentric circles, widened. Shinra Tensei. Rinne Tensei. I don't know where those names came from, but, were they really a Kekkei Genkai? How did I get? Haku saw his chance, and he created a new mirror, leaping into it and guiding it into place where the destroyed one had been. He's powerful, but I must not let it stop me. Zabuza-sama is counting on me. Ice release. Hailstone. The 21 mirrors of ice grew together, into a solid ice dome like the one they had been trapped in before. A giant projection of Haku spoke. This time, I must kill you. I'm sorry, but there's no way for you and Zabuza-sama to both live. The walls began to thicken, growing inward toward Naruto and Hinata. The latter tried to sit up, but she was completely drained of chakra, so much so that she couldn't move. Naruto-kun, I'll stop him. He smiled.